And we are back. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the European Unity League, where we are bringing you 7 rounds of legacy action, followed by that cut to top 8. So, everyone, quick at math out there, and that's Infect players. That's 10 rounds of legacy action. Hold them up high, Andreas, because he is joining me today and carrying me through as my, I'm asking him all the dumb questions because this isn't my format. I know a little bit about it, and I enjoy watching it and playing it, but that is the expert we all need and love. And have you enjoyed it so far? Has anything stood out to you? Any spicy lines, any spicy plays, any spicy cards that you didn't expect to see today?
Yeah, well, I just say I have a very soft spot for these basically hybrid decks like Reanimator. Are we up against a turn 2 combo deck? Are we up against a mid-range deck? Cephalid Breakfast? Are we up against a turn 2 combo deck? Or are we getting grinded out by Ursa Saga and Nadu into Fairies in the longer game? I really like that cat and mouse game. And I think that's one of the best selling points for Legacy at the moment is that these games are just so different from game to game and very little, textbook stuff is going on. You really have to think outside the box, lean on your experience, and give it your all against your opponent.
And we've got some real cool decks lined up with 2 different decks we haven't really seen yet moving forward for our next feature match. One of them, it does involve Underground Seas, who would expect, because it's pretty much a good duel right now, but you can do a lot with it. Okay, we've seen it a lot in the blue-black reanimator lists. But what about if I told you I put it in the hands of one of the best players that have ever touched Magic Online right now? Which is it's absolutely on a tear and is doing it with some ninjas in the deck. Everybody loves ninjas. Kaito floating around in the blue-black tempo deck, the Demir tempo deck at the bottom of our screen, piloted by Mogged. And at the top of our screen, we've got Mark, and he's piloting. He's exploding out, trying to do some crazy things. Boros Initiative, talk me through this.
Yeah, Boros Initiative was I would say like a top 5 deck in Legacy at some point around a year or two ago, but it's kind of fallen a bit out of favor. And the main reason for that is that you played into a format with Grief. Grief could take something like your Chaos, Caves of Chaos Adventurer or Seasoned Dungeoneer out of the hand, and then you can reanimate it from your opponent's graveyard. But with Grief being a thing of the past, then some players have started to dip back into the deck, and this opening is quite nice. You have the fast artifact acceleration, then a cavern, making sure that Archon of Emeria is resolving here.
Like I play Archon in Pioneer,
Right?
and it's now seeing this legacy play. It's really cool to see. The Tamio is going to get turned sideways. That's going to generate us a clue token, so that gives a little bit of advantage. Plus, it's a nice 1-drop creature that if we do something like this, play Brainstorm, we can flip it straight away.
Yep.
This is, of course, our first spell and only spell of the turn now. It's been cast.
Yeah, I just want to highlight that it's very fortunate for Mock that he had Basic Island, because if that was a duel or God forbid, a fetch, then they would enter tapped. So just imagine you have to play fetchland tapped, and the duel you're getting is also entering tapped because of the Archon. So Basic Island into Tamio Brainstorm is kind of the ideal follow-up to a turn 1 Archon while being on the draw.
Yeah, that really can slow your opponent down, right? Like, not only you fetch, you still can't play a land. You're going to fetch. If you get a duel, it's tapped. That's like 2 turns basically. End up taking off. But it does have the basic, as you said. Do they play more basics in this Demir tempo deck?
Yeah, there'll be a swamp in there as well. No trolls to go get it though, so you need to get a bit fortunate in order to play well against cards like Archon and Blood Moon while on the draw. But now Mogged gets to hopefully craft a game plan around this Tamio. Pretty interested to see if Mark can get back into the game. Realistically, all he needs is an Ancient Tomb or City of Traders, and then we will start seeing like big impactful spells happening. But until then, Mocked is very happy with the development.
I definitely see a land. It might be a plateau in hand. Look, that's the land we're going to play for turn. So no
Yeah.
access to free mana, but we're going to start off by getting the Teferi 1 point lower, because remember the Teferi got ticked up, which means -1,
Tamio this
-2.
time. You got lured by the previous round.
Too many T's going on. Thank you for free mana. Follow up is
Okay.
okay. We've at that point in the game on turn 2 that we're hard casting
Interesting.
Simeon's Spirit Guides. A card we
So this
abandon.
tells us a little bit about Mark's hand. No 4-drop, because then you would have invested the Spirit Guide in casting that 4-drop. So that hand is probably something like Solitude, and let me give another solid guess. Could be Solitude, could be another Spirit Guide, could be a Naked Chrome Mox. That's definitely among my guesses.
How can we afford? take this advantage? Is it going to be an Orcish Bowmaster cast? Going to shoot you for 1.
Yeah. So look at this. This is very high level stuff because why
I
would
was
you
going
play
to
an
talk to
Orcish
I
Bowmasters?
don't understand this line, so talk me through it.
Yeah, why would you play an Orcish Bowmasters on your own turn? Also notice the Flooded Strand entered tapped. You're doing this because you either have a Force of Will or you want to represent Force of Will on the opponent's turn. So with only one spell allowed per turn, this is a way to make sure you play both on quote-unquote sorcery speed and instant speed. So the Taxon Archon is coming into play here. And I mean, Mogged is, in my opinion, the best who has ever clicked buttons on Magic Online. So yeah,
Okay.
you can expect world-class play here from start to finish.
Yeah, that's that's such a good read as well. Like doing that and be like, oh, they're playing that main phase. That means they must have something to be able to do in my. That's really cool to see. But yeah, Mark's not phased. I think he's got another Spirit Guide in hand. Here comes the Sea of Traders. That's going to pay us up to 5 mana. And we're just going to pass the turn back again.
That is indeed 5 mana total. And also notice, let's just imagine that one of Mark's cards is right now Solitude. Then you want to cast that Solitude after Mark has played a spell so that Force of Will is jammed. Because right now Mark has communicated that, oh, I have the Force of Will. By the way, I need to interrupt myself here because this is very high level.
I was about to say that there's actually a lot going on right now, and this is in the
Mogged
upkeep.
has cracked a fetch land, responded to it by killing the Archon. That means he has Revolt, but the land he's getting off Flooded Strand is going to enter untapped because you're killing the Archon. And now we actually see everything come to fruition with the Solitude getting cast in response to jam up the Force of Will while the Archon is still there. So ton of stuff happening here. And yeah, I was actually quite happy to kind of nail that one from both sides of what was going on here.
I didn't even ping it's going to come into play untapped because we kill it in response. I think I thought we were just going to smartly go get like a Surveil land and at least like
yeah, there was one more
before.
level to it, that if you respond after attaining the Revolt but before actually finding the land, you can get the best of both worlds here.
Super high level play there. And then we get our Underground Sea untapped. Tick up the Tamiyo up to 6 counters. Only 2 more activations. We get to draw half our deck.
Yeah, Solitude and Spirit Guide could have something to say about that. So I'm pretty interested to see how Mogged can kind of play Protect the Queen when it comes to this Tamiyo.
I mean, look what we got. We've got some Belfic Strixes. That's going to be a good option.
Yep.
Because that can block a trade of anything. We've also got Murktide Regents. I don't know if we've got enough cards in the graveyard for that just yet.
Right.
Load more Orcish Bowmasters. We've got the the Brazen Burrow as well that can be used.
Yep.
Don't have many removal spells outside of the 4 Fatal Pushes.
Right. Even Fatal Push would be fine here to kill a 2/2, but not exciting, obviously. So let's see what this is. Did he just crack Clue?
I think he just cracked the Clue and passed turn.
Okay. So cracking a Clue there is valuable because you did not play a land yet. So if there's a Wasteland or a land on top of your deck, you can do it.
See, this Tamiyo, bear in mind on turn 1, we played it. Turn 2, we flipped it. After that, all we've done is it's just been soaking up so much damage, which isn't going to our face, which is giving us the time we need to rebuild. And then the follow-up turn is just another Spirit Guide.
Yeah, so the chip damage is coming in. Spirit Guides are attacking for 1. Solitude is attacking for 2. So there's a lot of time here for Mogged.
Did we have a look? There's another card in the graveyard, so we couldn't get a Murktide if needs be. Wasteland.
Yeah, so Brainstorm was resolved, and then it looks like we're resolving a Wasteland here. So this situation, I think we should go after the Plateau, because we have 4th Eolingus in the Boris Initiative deck, and that is currently uncastable between Chrome Mox Cavern and City of Traders. So I really like Mocked play here.
Here comes the Murktide. Like I've smelt a Murktide from a couple of times ago, just the way he was like kind of digging around. Do we have anything to get that off the battlefield besides more Solitudes? Any Swords to Plowshares, things like that?
I believe the deck used to run. I can't remember the card. It has Channel. It's an enchantment. It's kind of like Oblivion Ring type card, but this version does not have it. So this version only has Solitudes. The flex slot in this deck is basically Anointed Peacekeeper, aside from the staple cards of the Boris Initiative deck. So pretty weak to a Murktide, all things considered.
This Tamiyo, looks insane, and it's done nothing. It's just ticked up every turn. It hasn't done anything, but it's literally changed the course of this whole game.
Yeah, and how much life do you think it has saved, Mocked from? Just,
One,
random guess?
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like 10.
Yeah, probably, right? And for the 1 mana investment, we take that any day of the week.
Yeah, that's huge. I really happy we get to see this because I said this is on my radar of decks I might actually start playing
Mhm.
in a tournament that I've got coming up. But then I also think that Mark's deck really hasn't played ball. It hasn't done the job that it's meant to
Nope.
do, and he's agreed he's going to scoop it up and take the L on this first match. But it's fine. We've got 3 matches total potentially. It is best of 3. So now Mog's going to go back to the sideboard, have a little look how he's going to show up and win game number 2. We're going to start over Mock's side and have a little look at what this initiative deck has got in it. It's got some spicy ones. It looks pretty cool. I'm a 4th Aerolingus first picker in Vintage Cube every
Oh,
time.
definitely. Join the club. So looking at the sideboard, we're playing against Demir midrange, and this is part of what I like about Demir tempo/midrange is there's not really any cards that just crush you out of people's sideboards. So that's where we're only going to see small adjustments, like we're maybe adding some plows, adding the Celestial Purge, but that's more or less it. And then you're just going to do some minor trimming. I imagine we want to keep the chalices, of course. And it's probably just the anointed peacekeepers for those 3 cards that I just highlighted, to be honest.
Okay, well, let's have a look over on the other side. Let's look at this Demir list because this is the one I'm pretty interested in.
Mhm.
One, do I own all these cards? Is the first thing I'm thinking of. I might actually have to pick up some Strixes. I think besides that, I might actually have everything else. But talk me through it. What do you like bringing in to show up this game number 2?
Yeah, so first of all, I think we need engineered explosives as an answer to Chalice of the Void for one that would be very annoying. Hydroblast is solid because you do play against a Fable of the Mirror Breaker, Chaos, Gates of Chaos Adventure, and Fourth Elingus deck, so I like those. I like Go for the Throat just as a good removal spell, and I even like Barrogoyf as a way to combat these initiative creatures. So we have a lot of good cards in the sideboard that are incidentally good, and then if we get to game 3 and we're on the play, then I like Consign as well, counters Chalice, counters mana acceleration, etc. So Bach has more upgrades for this matchup, but yeah, the initiative deck will have the advantage being on the play going into game number 2.
All right, well, let's see how they're getting on shuffling. Let's get right down to the match. Chat saying it's like pretty crazy that there's 4 Fable of the Mirror Breakers in a legacy deck. Why are we seeing that, and why is it so powerful?
Yeah, so some of these cards, you also mentioned a card like Archon. Oh, yeah, you played Archon and Pioneer. So you should just think about the older the format, the tools around it is also going to be better. So when you play a format with access to Chrome Mox and Ancient Tomb, then all of a sudden Fable of the Mirror Breaker can be a turn 1 play. You also have better creatures to copy if you get to the 3rd chapter. So yeah, it's mainly that it's very contextual when it comes to stuff like that for some cards. Obviously, let's say you put some legacy card like Force Will into standard, like that would be crazy good, right? So it's kind of the same thing that if you have more ways to cast the cards and take advantage of them, they get better. So it's a lot to do with not only the card itself, but also the card pool around it.
If you could invent like a force card, like obviously we've had the elementals, we had like the forces of negation, we had the flare of denials. What would be the next sort of iteration of 0 mana cost with a cost of some description that you would want to?
Yeah,
You ever give
great.
it any thought? Anything you've been in a little card
I
design at
did
all?
read a cool article a while back by Sher Khan. Nico wrote an article where he was messing around with exactly this. And these were cards designed specifically for vintage, but he actually had a lot of cool ideas. Like it's like a mix between Force Will and Mindbreak Trap, but I have now forgotten. I think it's like if you're on the draw, then it was a free counterspell or something along those lines. To basically balance the play draw situation. But no, I'm really not very creative, but I just like to read other people's ideas basically.
I got one for you. Right.
Okay, let's go.
It costs 5 green, but you can discard 2 green cards from your hand.
Yeah.
Target player gains 10 infect point counters.
Yeah, that would be quite strong. I can highly recommend building a deck around that and maybe some Pact of Negations for good measure.
All right, cool. Just I'll put a word in. I'll see what wizards say.
Yeah, definitely.
Players drawing their opening hands. Let's have a little look if Mark can get that explosive opening start he wants. Really wants to start off with the initiative and so do I, because then I can start talking about the end of city and all the D&D sort of stuff that goes with it. Looks like we do have a keep. It's going to be Crackers, double petal, sacrifice
Okay.
petal, and the Crackers to start off. And it's going to be a chalice for 1 off the bat, do we have anything to fight this over? We do have a force of will.
Yeah.
It's your
Also, I
partner.
just want to mention the last game seemed like a landslide win for Mogged, but in reality, the fact that he drew his singleton basic island,
Oh, it's
and
huge.
the fact that Mark did not do anything on turn 2, like those two things combined could easily have made it a landslide in the other direction. So what seemed like a foregone conclusion was actually because of some very crucial details early on.
Well, we're going to go fetch up a C. Doing it in our main phase means we've probably got something to do.
Yeah, definitely.
Tamio? Nope. Ponder.
Starting on Ponder here. Also, Tamio is actually not the best in this matchup, especially when you're on the draw. You're expecting to be under pressure, and you usually don't have the kind of wiggle room that makes Tamio great. So against these fast Ancient Tomb decks, that's not your best card. So I actually wouldn't be surprised if some of them were in Mocked sideboard right now.
Okay, interesting. 2 mana again. And a Spirit Guide. Here comes Fable the Mirror Breaker.
Yeah, this is a very all-in play. Imagine getting dazed here. That would be a nightmare. Usually you're beating the initiative deck if they spend like one-shot resources like Spirit Guides and Petals, imprinting for Chrome Mox, taking them all again, stuff like that, and you simply answer their card. But getting to resolve the Fable here is at least step 1 to getting back into the game.
Of course, brings along the Goblin Shaman token. We know how good that can be. Generates some treasures, which means that we can start powering out some more of our big spells in our hand. Because it looks like we kept to 1 lander.
Yeah, only 1 land, but as you alluded to, the Goblin Shaman will keep the mana flowing. But now all it takes is like a simple fatal push to kind of make sure that's not going to be the case. Let's see if Mogged has any of the sort.
Now, does he have to have on his radar things like getting basics? Like, is he worried of a Blood Moon or something along those lines? Did these decks ever play Blood Moon?
They did at some point. I think most versions have moved away from Blood Moon effects. If you're interested in playing, a Stompy style deck with a Blood Moon, then I guess you should just play Mono Red Prison. So it's basically 2 different things at this point.
So it looks like we're going to shoot the Goblin Shaman to get the turn. Basically, doing this while we can get the shields down, because this Fable the Mirror Breaker drawing 2, discarding 2, or up to, doing the rummage effect here.
Yep.
It'll make it a lot more worse for Mark, especially if he wants to get rid of 2. That means the Goblin Shaman token will get shut down.
Yeah, so I think what Mark did here was ping the Shaman once to basically punish Mark for even discarding 1 card. So that's why he decided to discard 0 cards. So
we did it in the upkeep.
I think so, yes.
That makes a lot more sense.
So Mocked is kind of hedging a little bit here, because the way that the Fable works is once you kind of chosen to discard 2 cards, it's too late to cast the Bowmaster. So he did it. I really like how Mock plays here, but yeah, to the surprise of no one, it's very high level stuff going on.
I feel like a little bit of information gets gained as well by them not attacking with the Goblin Shaman. As in, like, they don't have a free drop in hand.
Right. So that mana is not crucial. So Mark is more interested in like stalling out the game and making sure that the 2 1/1s don't get in there for chip damage. Also, he's leaving himself more open to exactly this, getting it fatal push and not getting any value out of it.
I think we've got a Solitude in hand. Don't know if we've got the white card to go with it. I don't even know if it's good to cast right now.
Yeah, I think you'd rather just take your damage here. A friend of mine calls whenever Orcish Bowmaster is not very good in a matchup, he just says it's the black raise the alarm. So we're just making 2 1/1s here and attacking. And to be fair, that's the absolute worst thing that Bowmasters can do. Anything else from there is just excellent, right? So that's a testament to the strength of that card.
I might start using that. The black raise the alarm.
Yeah. That's when you play it in like a non-blue matchup, right? Then it's like,
Yeah.
okay, 2 1/1s.
The Pluto and just pass the turn back. Obviously, we did play that Tamio.
Yeah.
Tamio is a legendary creature, and we
Mhm.
do have a Krakus. But if we try to bounce it and there's a brainstorm or something in the hand and we can respond to it, it's just going to go from bad to worse here.
Yeah, this is a good, very, very good observation here. So if you bounce it, you leave yourself open to a severe punishment. But if you don't, then
Flute.
okay. So Disruptor Flute. This is basically like an instant speed.
Yep, Yeah, it's basically like Epiphany. It has flash. So whenever it enters the battlefield, you can choose you name a card. Spells of the chosen card cost 3 more to cast.
Mm-hmm.
Activate abilities of the source with the chosen name can't be activated unless the mana abilities. So
Yeah,
it's basically an instant speed Epiphany needle.
it is, and it taxes. So I like this card a lot against decks like Doomsday. Against the Breakfast deck, you can name the Nomad or name the Shuko. You can make Doomsday a 6 mana card. I really like it a lot. I'm not sure about it here because right now we're probably just going to see Mogged activate his fetch land and then say, go ahead and name something here. The initiative deck is not really advancing its game plan here by playing a pseudo prison piece. So this is going exactly how Mogged wants it to go.
Would you think that maybe this is a card that you'd bring in when you're on the draw, not while you're on the play?
I don't like it in this matchup because you most likely remove something from the deck that is killing the opponent. Your deck is only proactive stuff that kills the opponent. So it's mainly what you're giving up that I'm a bit worried about here.
So they named the Tameo, but I'm guessing the flip side of Tameo.
Yes, that's a very good call. So now the flip side of Tameo cannot get activated, but we still have an O3 in play that can generate clues and stuff like that. Also, the opponent might be missing the Caracas versus Tameo interaction, or over respecting the Brainstorm. One of the two, I guess.
We've got Chalice of the Void on the stack. It's going to be for 1 if it resolves. We're going to crack in response. Might have a brainstorm or something we want to fire off. Maybe even just a fatal push.
Definitely, because now with how the transform rules work, the the flip side of Fable is a 3-drop still. Okay, so it just looks like we are maybe brainstorming, casting or 1-drop before the chalice hits. Makes a lot of sense. And I actually am not sure if Tameo is a may or must. I know a Johnny is a may, but I'm actually not sure about Tameo.
Let me have a little look-see for you. Is when you draw your third card of the turn.
Not a
exile,
may.
it's
So
a
you,
must.
so you have to transform it if you cast a brainstorm here.
Which is what I believe did get was it was just off screen for us, so we couldn't get a good look at it. But 3
Yep.
cards were drawn, 2 cards were put back on top.
So now, if your read is correct, we're flipping into a useless planeswalker at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
But we did get to resolve a brainstorm before chalice for 1 hit, so certainly worth it. So if it was a May ability, we wouldn't see the flip, because then the clue machine would be better.
So we're looking for something big right now. We're looking for like one of our Murktides,
Yeah.
a Kaito, something like that. So we can start. Yeah.
We do have a single copy of Brazen Borrower in play to answer the chalice, but mainly also a Sink into Stupor. Okay. But mainly the plan against chalice is to simply play some stuff like this.
This is a big one. So how many sorceries instances are we going to exile from our graveyard? How big is this going to be? Do we want to pick it as big as we can? Doesn't look like we don't know, so we're just going to make it a 7/7. Just a 7/7.
Using our mana, leaving a little bit of stuff in the graveyard, but also putting on as much pressure as possible.
And it makes sense if you think about it, right? Like, so if Mark's at 20 life, the difference between 7/7 and 8/8 is there's no difference on the turn of clock. It's still going to be a free turn clock.
Yeah.
So keeping that extra card in the graveyard for maybe future Murktides, maybe we'd have a Baragoi if we need that extra point of damage.
Yep.
You know, there's reasons behind it is what I'm getting at. So that's pretty cool.
For sure. Yeah, definitely. Managing your graveyard is big in these decks because sometimes you want to make the Murktide as big as possible. Sometimes you want to leave open for the second Murktide. Sometimes you want to think about maybe you draw Baragoi 3 turns from now, so I don't want to exile my more unique types. Ooh, here we're going to see a cool interaction with Solitude and Reflection of the Mirror Breaker.
Okay, so we're going to shoot. So this is going to resolve. It's going to target the Murktide. With that on the stack, the evoke trigger, we're now going to try and copy it with the
Reflection, yeah.
And that's going to go after the Orcish Bowmaster. So there's going to be 8 points of life gained, 2 creatures off the battlefield, and there's going to be a token until end of turn, which is going to stop the attack from the Orcish Bowmaster's token, or Mass token, and then the Solitude is going to go to the graveyard.
So now I'm trying to figure out why Mark did not go for this on his own turn and attack for damage here with the Hasty Solitude.
Oof, Wasteland.
That's interesting. Oh, Wasteland's so brutal in this spot because remember, this is the game that started off with Petals getting cracked, Spirit Guides getting exiled, Mulligan, and now we're getting wastelanded down to just 1 mana.
Mark's got no cards in hand, remember?
Yeah. Whew. This is some brutal stuff. So for now, there's the 2/2 in play, but that is not really getting anywhere. Also, pretty crazy if the life totals are actually 2020 after all of this exchange.
No, I don't think they are. I think we've gained a bunch of life. We gained at least 8 from that double solitude that happened. So
Right.
oh, another wasteland's gonna take out the Caracas.
Initiative deck is down to 0 mana. At this point, it's just a matter of time before the blue-black deck finds one of the creatures we talked about before. Brazen Borrower is included. Even if you find an Orcish Bowmaster, it lets your Orc army attack favorably into the 2/2.
I feel like Chalice is actually doing a little bit of work right now.
Oh, it's doing a lot of work because that's part of how Mark gets back into this game. That's Mogged drawing, Brainstorm, Push, Ponder, Tameo, like Hydroblast. Like that's part of how you get back into this game.
What does it look like for Mark to get back in the game?
Yeah, Mark basically needs that to happen on the side of the blue-black deck. That there's a bunch of bad draws, and then Mark needs to just draw some mana sources in a row, and then this game is actually winnable. So heavy advantage blue-black, but not out of the realm of possibilities that the 5 minutes from now, the Danish initiative, as I call it, the Danish initiative has come back here.
That's one of the things that fascinates me about Legacy is, even though you feel like on a board state you can see it, oh, they're so far behind here. The amount of times I've seen people get back into games from just they just hit a brainstorm off the top and just like, oh, whoa, that's insane. They were able to do X, Y, Z and get back into it. And realistically, that's kind of what we live for in the coverage booth, right? Like we want to see this. We want to see these epic stories that when you finish the round and you go see your mates, you say, oh, I did this amazing play, or oh, I got absolutely destroyed by X, Y, and Z. This is what we want to see, and this is why we would love and enjoy watching so much paper magic. As it looks like we're going to get in there for 2 points of damage.
Definitely. So what I want to see now is 2 Spirit Guides getting exiled and a Caves of Chaos Adventure getting cast. Like that's what I'm dreaming of.
I think is that another flute in hand?
Yeah, it looks like Mark did not want to lose to Tameo twice. But it's also a card that is not really furthering his game plan, and that's been the main problem. In this game, all it takes is sticking 1 threat while Mark is stuck there drawing 1-drops.
Is Mark suffering from something that a lot of players? It's a hard skill to learn. That obviously there's this card he's very aware of, and that's why these flutes have come in. But have we maybe over sideboarded? I know Gabner Seif has always spoke about this when I speak to him. He thinks if there's four cards in my opponent's deck that are worth a sideboard, I'll bring in 1 card to answer 4, if that makes sense. Like 1 for every 4 cards. So if in this instance, if Tameo is what I was worried about, I'd bring in 1 flute, not 2. What's your thoughts on that and how you sideboard?
Yeah, I don't have a formula for it, but I definitely agree. So it's mainly just to realize that every sideboard choice you're making, that choice also comes with a cost. And once you start thinking about that I'm putting creatures in my sideboard so that I can have Disruptor Flute instead of saying, okay, I'll rely on my deck's speed, and I believe that I can make Tameo a non-factor, and simply I want to put on as much pressure as possible. So it has a lot to do with your experience with the deck, your experience in the matchup, and just realizing that every choice comes with a cost. I think that's one of the biggest level ups you can do when it comes to realizing that about sideboarding.
We got some action, but we don't really.
Yeah,
we're gonna play a 2/2 ape.
Yeah, and that 2/2 ape can trade off with an orc army, and then we bring this game to a stall once more. But yeah,
I'm inclined to take a hit and start. At least it's a target that I can copy. Yeah, I like this Mark.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, great call. Yeah, explain your logic here.
Yeah, so my life total is relatively high. I think I'm at 10-8 or something, whatever like that. But the fact that I can now make a copy to block this 2/2 means I don't lose my original copy, and that might become apparent later on in the game. It might even enable me to start attacking more.
Yeah, definitely a great call here. Now the blocking becomes favorable instead of just throwing away your cardboard. So you definitely nailed it there.
And I think Moggs realized that's why he was able to get in there for 2. He was like, "Yeah, I'll get it. I'll happily trade with your one target that you can copy." But now he completely decides against it. And now Mark on the end step can start making tokens and at least start getting some action happening. Start turning
Yeah,
something sideways. But another wasteland's going to come down. Please make the token beforehand. There we go. 2 mana floating.
maybe we're already in the second main phase.
And yet we're going to make that copy of that token.
Maybe going to combat there. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So, yeah, great call by you. Setting up the situation where you actually get to keep your actual piece of cardboard instead of throwing that into the graveyard.
There's an ancient tomb off the top.
Yeah, this game is all about, will Mark put together enough mana sources and haymakers before Mogged finds Baragorth, Brazen Borrower, Murktide Regent, even something like Strix, Kaito. Oh, I guess this means Mogged found another Bowmaster.
Well, no, because he's like, "What? Sure, the only mana you've got is an ancient tomb. You're going to take 2 damage one way or another here."
Yeah, let's see.
I suppose this way you would done it. You would have actually got it off the battlefield. But no, your read was right. Yeah, another Orcish Bowmaster.
So 2 good reasons to attack here. The Ancient Tomb being there as a punishment for the activation, and then this kind of combat trick of playing another Bowmaster to grow your Orc army mid-combat if it gets blocked by a 2/2.
That's going to drop Mark down to 4.
Yeah, he's in trouble here because he needs the mana from that Ancient Tomb, and that's not going to be available here.
Look at this deck for Moggs. Why are we not playing Stifle in this deck?
Times have changed a lot. Players have gotten better on the other side of the table. Better cards have gotten printed. So instead of adding variants to our deck, we need cards that do their job every time and not just when you can catch your opponents with their pants down. So yeah, a lot of stuff.
I'm looking at this deck and I was like, "Oh my god, I just want to play Stifle in this deck." That's all I want to do. It doesn't affect the deck at all, except for it's just another way of me going, at my opponent.
Yeah, so just think about this. Your opening hand has a Tameo, a Ponder, and a Stifle, and some lands. Like, what do you do turn 1? It's also gives you a lot of
turn, obviously.
Okay, and that is gonna get punished a large chunk of the time, and then you look silly. So the conflict of the other cards being cheap and like having the same mana cost is also real.
But then I guess is there a flip side to that where people are not expecting it and
Yeah.
then do you get them?
You can bring it out occasionally. I've seen some Delver decks in the last 3 months. Then they play 1 or 2 Stifles, and then when people research, they see Stifles, but then they just cut them the next week, and there's a little bit of cat and mouse there.
2 mana. Play a Cavern of Souls.
Cavern is a good start.
That's going to give us a colored source of mana at least. Now, is it going to be a red or is it going to be a white?
Yeah, the beautiful thing is both of the 4-drop initiative creatures are humans, so it is currently both.
In fact, are they all humans? I'm looking. The Peacekeeper's a human. Archon is not.
Yeah, it's the 2 initiative creatures and the Peacekeeper. They share human, which is good enough. The 3-man initiative creature is banned. That was not human, but that was too strong for the format. White Plume Adventurer. So let's see. So in theory, when you get to play an initiative creature and copy it, that's a lot of stuff going to happen.
Turn. Oh, what is this one then?
Yeah, Seasoned Dungeoneer. So this card has a lot of text to it. You gain the initiative, you move into the dungeon. Whenever you attack, then you can explore. And it's unblockable. So
and we're making a copy. So this is we get to go in the dungeon 3 times here, right?
Just
one it enters, second copy comes in, go down another level, then we attack and we get another level, or just damage has to happen.
If you already have it's kind of like the Monarch. If you already have the Monarch, then getting it once more doesn't help you. But it does help you to, well, the triggers work, but combat will not work if you already have the initiative.
Okay, so basically we're going to go to the first level, which is go search yourself for a basic land, reveal it, put it into your hand, and then shuffle, which is good because we need some lands. Next one, we can either go left or right. We can go down to the Forge, put 2+1+ encounters on a creature, or we could go down to the Lost Well and scry 2.
Yeah, and worth noting is these are going to be unblockable because they have protection from creatures when they're attacking. So there's some damage coming in here.
We're going to go for the scry 2.
So that says a lot because the left side of the dungeon is the one that kind of wins more quickly. We have the trap going 5 to the dome and growing the creature. So this is basically saying that this is not a race that is. Yeah, it's more about getting a relevant card for next turn rather than try and race.
Am I missing something? Why are we looking at top card?
We are exploring when we attack with the white creature.
Oh, let's go.
Yep, and so that will grow the token here. I guess it won't because it was a land, but it would have if it was a spell. So land goes straight into hand. Token's going to die end of turn, and then I believe we're down to 2 life. Yeah, okay, coming in real time here. We're down to 2 life, but we have a couple of blockers here. So Mock needs something here. This is crazy.
And it being a free fall, it's not even good attacks. Like we can put them down to 1. We can turn off the tomb's already turned itself off in this instance.
Yeah.
We did see show and tell momentarily on stream earlier on, so there's definitely one person in the room playing it.
Oh yeah, and wow, look at this. The turn got passed back, meaning Mock did not have any favorable attacks. Now we move further into the dungeon, and we have the option to copy the Dungeoneer once more, and this time maybe send both of them into the red zone. But I guess the life total is a little bit too high for that.
We'll remain a stash, so we create a treasure token, which means the next one has to be going into the catacombs, which will be making us a 5/1 skeleton creature with menace.
Yes, that card is also quite, or that mode is quite strong at closing out the game. The menace is so annoying on the 4/1 skeleton. Here's
we're rocking and rolling. This looked like an unwinnable game. Are we getting back? Are we turning this corner?
I think he successfully managed to find a window in a game where Mocked just kept drawing 1-drops, and he managed to put together a mana plus Haymaker.
Okay. Look, I'm buying what you're selling. 3 mana, 4 mana. Here comes another dungeon. Which one is this one? This is the
Caves of Chaos Adventurer. So this card is also very fast at closing out the game.
This is a good one to copy, right?
Oh, definitely. That would be an understatement. So straight into the 4/1 skeleton.
So this is 5/3 of trample, and then it's getting the initiative. Whenever adventurer attacks, exile top card of your library. If you've completed a dungeon, you may play that card until without paying its mana cost. Otherwise, you may play that card this turn.
Yep.
Okay.
And we're slowly getting here. So developing that, moving further into the dungeon, stabilizing the board while attacking with an unblockable. And next turn is going to be fireworks. I can tell you that much. That's going to be an impressive turn.
We've got the treasure token as well, I think. So the treasure token could end of turn. Do they ever copy the Caves of Chaos Adventure?
That is a good point. So,
which then means we complete the dungeon, which means we can start casting things for free, as well as getting the Throne of the Free Dead, which, by the way, is an awesome module. I really think everyone should go and check it out. It's pretty sick. And that's what we're going to do. So this is reveal the top 10 cards of your library. Put a creature card for among them into the battlefield with 3+1/+1 counters on it. It gains hexproof until end of the next turn.
That was brutal timing here on the freeze because
come on, camera. We need to work it. Stop unfreezing.
It's definitely a huge potential here coming from the top of the library. It looks like Peacekeeper was the pick, so it enters with a couple of +1/+1 counters on it and has hexproof for the time being.
Also got Vigilance, which is quite nice when you're in a little bit of a race and you need to keep your life. Oh, we've been sitting on this 2 life, hoping for the best. Hats off to Mark for not conceding early in this game.
Definitely.
It looks so bad, but just absolutely pulled it out of nowhere. Going back down the dungeon, now going to go find another basic. And I think Mox is just doing the math. He's like, am I just dead?
Yeah, because some of those guys have trample. Some of those guys have simply protection from creatures. And here's Mock getting ready for game 3.
Whoa. What did I say? Literally, like midway through this game, this is why Mark had no lands.
Yes.
All his lands got wastelanded. He had basically terrible permanents. And I was like, this is why we love live paper Magic. We want to see these good comeback stories, these great beatdown stories. That is one for the ages. That was an absolute turn the corner. That Chalice on 1 did so much work to slow down Mogs, and Mark was able to get into it and take that down and take us to a game 3. Because, of course, 7 rounds. If you can start 5-0, you can double ID in, potentially get yourself into today's top 8.
Oh, for sure. This is exactly what we want to see here. Not only did we have an amazing comeback, that amazing comeback also enables a game 3. So much more to that story or to that fable. Get ready to get written here. Whew.
Yeah, that Fable earlier on. We literally started the round off with Fable. Is it any good? Why are we seeing this in Legacy?
Yeah,
Turns out it was really good. It absolutely changed the corner and course of that matchup once we were able to get it online. Game
it
number
went
3. Let's go.
from eating a removal spell on the first 2/2 shaman, then it stabilized the board, funnily enough, in combination with a spirit guide. That bought just enough time to get into the initiative creatures, and then the copies of those initiative creatures took home the game. So Fable doing work from turn 2 all the way to turn 12 or whenever that game finished.
I can't even tell you how much money I would have put on that game that Mox was going to win that match.
Yeah, for
Like,
me, it was like a 90-10 situation because I know you can just, as the blue-black player, draw enough one-drops in a row, and the other deck has 30 mana sources in it. So at that point, you're in the game, but it's very unlikely.
well, we're going to take a mulligan down on Mark's side. Remember, on the draw now. This, we saw the. I was going to say we might have also seen the whole match with no initiative actually being cast, but the initiative we saw there, how
Yeah.
powerful it could be, how much it could just snowball as well out of nobody, out of nowhere, and how crazy it is. Let's have one last little look at this initiative list. Just have a quick look while Mark's going to draw his opening 7. This is a reminder of what's in the deck. We saw that the flutes came in. Maybe they come out on the draw, but I didn't see him reach to his sideboard, so I think they're going to stay in for game
Yeah.
number 2.
Yeah, definitely. This
Sorry.
deck, you should just view this deck as a lot of mana sources and a lot of high impact cards. So your ideal hands is where you go turn 1, big spell, whether that's an initiative creature or Archon or Fable. Turn 2, you do the same. Like that 1-2 punch is what you're looking for.
Well, we've had it every other game. Why not this one? Let's go with a turn 1 Tamio.
Yeah, turn 1 Tamio is a card that does not. It's only good if you get the breathing room, right? So the effect of that card in this matchup is about whether you get to weather the storm on the plan A of the initiative deck. And if you do, then this card Tamio can get you over the hump.
You're going to turn it sideways, generate a clue. Just a basic on the other side here for Mark. Learn that there's wastelands in these decks, and that is exactly where we're going to see Moggs play.
Yeah, that's interesting because that tells us that Mogged does not have an additional land. Then you would have rather kept the wasteland and, you know, let your opponent worry about the wasteland without actually knowing about it. But it also, yeah, it's just interesting that the plains opener here from the initiative deck. I would imagine that we would have seen an ancient tomb here, but I guess it's just a spirit guide to pay for a 3-drop. Yeah.
So one thing I really like looking at Legacy coming from I say a slower format like Modern, with slightly less powerful cards. Wasteland's kind of seen as a bit of a land spell. Like
Yeah.
you'll see people not just miss their land drop, but still hold the Wasteland in hand because they want to try and use it and get that got you for the next turn, which I always found really cool and interesting.
Oh, so Mocked here playing out Wasteland when he could have played out Island. That is quite interesting. I'm trying to think why that is a smart play. Okay. I'll try and work on that one. Because sometimes you want to do it because you might want to double Wasteland later and then you've already spent a land drop playing it out. But at this point, that's not really the case. So let's see if he has a plan here. Cracking the clue instead of playing Bowmasters. I like that.
Did you see what card was actually tapped? Was it the Borogoyf that was is now going to cost more?
I'm not sure what the Peacekeeper's naming, but yeah, I would imagine because Baragoyf would be probably a big problem here, despite just being a 1/2 at the moment. But I think that card has huge potential.
Well, we found a fatal push. Fatal push plus crack fetch land means that no more creature for you. Get in there, Tamio. Make another clue. 1 mana. We're going to then play the Brainstorm, which is going to flip the Tamio. Ugh.
Yeah, this is exactly what you want to be doing. Again, Mocked was not under pressure from turn 1, then can kind of leverage the tempo advantage because the longer you go into this game without, pressure being put on Mocked's life total, it'll be an advantage for the Demir deck. But then because of cards like Cavern of Souls, you also need to make sure that you're actually closing out the game or disaster can happen like we saw just before.
All right. Back to Mark. What have we got? We know about there's another wasteland in hand as well. So do we have to throw it out? I see a flute in hand. That's a good way of stopping this Tamio. We're going to hard slam it now.
Yep. So Flute here is naming Tamio, which is a 1-for-1 exchange, except for the fact that Tamio has already created 2 clues. So strictly from a card advantage perspective, big advantage to the Demir deck. And also, if you're getting wastelanded back to the Stone Age here, then yeah, really big advantage bar for the Dimir deck. We've seen this before, though.
Yeah, I say this is like game number 2, but we all know how that one turned out. Orcish Bowmaster end of turn, shoot you, get a little bit of pressure going.
Yeah. I like this play. Mogged has basically switched now from, oh, I'll prioritize stacking clues because I want to find interaction, to I'm actually going to play my Raise the Alarm and get the clock going.
Another wasteland. Here comes the Borogoyf.
Yeah, Borogoyf with, let's see, land, instant, creature at the very least. So a 3/4.
Pass the turn back. Mogged smells that little bit of blood in the water right now, I think. 2 mana, Strix, draw another card. Surveil, see if we can get another card type in the graveyard, but we like it.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
we're not going to mill it anyway because of the Borogoyf.
Yeah, but that's after dealing damage. So Mogged is basically just checking if he has a card he does not want that will grow the Borogoyf to get in for 1 more damage.
I was just thinking, like, what's the risk to the reward here? Would I play the Surveil land after the combat, or is it better for me to play it before combat, or is maybe this a little bit of a misstep?
Yeah, so surveilling first gives you the chance to hit for 1 more off the Borogoyf. But surveilling after will higher the quality of your next draw step, basically. So yeah, it's depending on the situation, but Mogged is prioritizing damage at this point.
I think it was another Tamiya that is what we left on top. So we're kind of happy to mill a redundant copy of that right now.
Right.
3 more mana.
So
Another Borogoyf. How many do we play in this deck?
I think it's just a couple. That's like the standard of that card. A 3-drop, it's fine. And then in some, especially Ancient Tomb matchups, they hurt themselves a little bit. They a lot of time only have red removal. Then at that point, it's just very strong. So
mill, get back another Orcish Bowmaster hand. Yeah, like Mark's deck is good, but the initiative is not going to get him there. Shows him all these white cards, gets the handshake. We're going to see Mogged advance to a 5-0 record. Mark's going to drop to 4-1, but still in contention to get into today's top 8, because of course we've got 7 rounds of Swiss action before today's top 8 is going to happen.